With the WINN FM Newscast, I am Yulana Weeks.
In an effort to promote stronger collaboration for the development of St. Kitts and Nevis, a joint cabinet meeting was held between the Nevis Island administration and the federal government at the Park Hyatt in St. Kitts. This marks the second meeting of its kind, with a key focus on enhancing cooperation and fostering open dialogue.
I confess that this opportunity to engage in dialogue, our cabinet at the island level with the national cabinet, is one that I cherish and one that I think is very important. Nothing in this world is ever achieved without the ability to communicate. And the dialogue is very important. When there are problems, dialogue is important. And even in good times, dialogue is important. Even in marriages, dialogue is important. In all relationships, dialogue is important. And so for us, we are engaged now in some discussions. I reflect, members of the press, that the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Drew, would have afforded me an audience with him in the very first week, in fact, in the early days of the first week that he took office as Prime Minister. And it was at that meeting that he and I canvassed the position that there was a need for there to be greater dialogue, greater cooperation between the island of Nevis and the island of St. Kitts.
For Mayor Mark Brantley, he praised the strong relationship between the two islands, emphasizing its ongoing contribution to the overall development of the Federation. He expressed confidence in the continued success of this partnership during his remarks to the media.
The ability to sit with each other as brothers and sisters and to discuss even thorny issues and difficult issues, and to find middle ground where possible. I think that has to be the model now for St. Kitts and Nevis going forward. It is only through that kind of undertaking can we manage in this very difficult global environment that we face. We cannot have strife at home in circumstances where the global environment demands that we have unity, not only at home, that is domestically, but also regionally. We have to find common ground and we have to work together.
Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew highlighted the importance of sustained communication between the two governments. He noted that several issues affecting both islands require collaborative efforts for effective solutions.
People on Nevis, people on St. Kitts, that we understand that it is important that there be levels of cooperation. It is obvious that there would always be some level of political differences, but we don't always have to disagree on everything. There are some things that really can bring us together as a people. We decided to come together on the issue of crime and violence, and you saw how the Nevis Island Assembly participated, how the leadership in Nevis participated, because we decided we needed to have an all-of-society approach to deal with the matter. We have had very positive results, and I keep saying that all of us share in those results because all of us participated. That is an example of what we can achieve if we decide to work together.
The Prime Minister also underscored the significant benefits of the geothermal project, stressing its potential to transform the Federation's energy landscape.
The geothermal and renewable energy is not just a matter of climate, it is a matter of economic transformation, so that we can get to our sustainable island state, which means energy available at cheap cost, available 24/7, water available 24/7, food is grown sufficiently to satisfy our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And with that, the economic transformation in attracting new industry and to reach the point where we can actually export energy, which is a real thing. This is not a pie in the sky, it is a real thing. And to say the reason why the world is rallying with us, the world is rallying with St. Kitts and Nevis. They want this project to happen for multiple reasons. One, that political cooperation can bring about transformation. Two, that climate adjusting or addressing the climate issues is not just about climate for climate's sake, but it can actually be opportunities to transform countries economically.
The students, the teachers, and parents of Cotton Thomas Comprehensive School worshipped at the Pentecostal Church of God, Boone Avenue, Bastyr, on Sunday, March 16, in observance of Down Syndrome Week. World Down Syndrome Day is celebrated annually on March 21. The principal of the Cotton Farmers Comprehensive School, Mr. Sylvester Dorr, took to the stage at the Pentecostal Church of God, calling for a collective voice and action in advocating for the rights, inclusion, and well-being of people with Down syndrome.
We recognize Down Syndrome Week, and that is because we advocate for inclusion, understanding, and love. And as a church, I realize and recognize that you as well advocate for such, that is inclusion, understanding, and love. You know, every day at our school, we see the beauty in diversity. And if everybody were the same, what a boring world it would be. So all of us are different, all of us are unique, and we recognize the uniqueness in our Down syndrome children and adults as well. And so as a society that uplifts, as a society that includes and values every individual, I join with you and with all the parents, all the teachers, all the staff members who are here to say, let us recognize beauty in individuality, and throughout this week, celebrate World Down Syndrome Day.
A special assembly was organized for March 17, followed by a Student Appreciation Day on March 18 and a Media Day on March 19. The highly anticipated mid-morning concert featuring children with Down syndrome of the Bastia campus will be held on March 20 at the McKnight Community Center, and a students' lunch thereafter. Friday, March 21 is the popular Rock Your Socks Day. Everyone is encouraged to wear brightly colored, mismatched socks. March 21 is symbolic because people with Down syndrome have 3 copies of their 21st chromosome. The karyotype of Down syndrome chromosomes resembles mismatched socks. Rock Your Socks Day coincides with a grand motorcade that will close out the week of activities. Down syndrome is the most frequently occurring chromosomal condition and the leading cause of intellectual and development delay in the world. Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Terence True, has praised the contribution of outgoing Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley. In a statement, Prime Minister True said Rowley's leadership, commitment, and unwavering dedication to regional cooperation have been commendable, thus wishing the retired statesman best wishes on his future endeavors. Rowley, 75, announced his retirement from office back in January 2025. He resigned from the office of Prime Minister on March 16 after 38 years as a Member of Parliament. On September 7, 2015, Dr. Rowley led the People's National Movement (PNM) to a general election victory to become the 7th Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Dr. Rowley was re-elected to serve as Prime Minister on August 10, 2020, after winning the 2020 general election. Meanwhile, Rowley's successor, 50-year-old Stuart Young, was sworn in on March 17. He took the oath of office to become this country's 8th Prime Minister. He took the oath of office to become Trinidad and Tobago's 8th Prime Minister. Prime Minister Drew welcomed Prime Minister Young into the new role as he looks forward to working together with Young to strengthen the bond between Trinidad and Tobago and St. Kitts and Nevis and advance the interests of the region.
The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force has removed several illegal firearms from the streets of St. Kitts, including a high-powered machine gun, raising concerns about how such weapons continue to enter the Federation. Last week, the police conducted operations in Connery and Dewar, seizing 3 firearms, including a submachine gun. In a statement to the media, the police explained that a search warrant was executed on the vehicle of Glenroy Samuel of Connery, leading to the discovery of a .45 FNX pistol with 2 matching rounds. Samuel, who was present during the search, was taken into police custody along with the weapon. In addition, the police seized another illegal firearm during what they described as a routine afternoon search of a vacant lot in Connery. The police discovered a Taurus 9mm pistol with 2 matching rounds of ammunition. Officers also searched Dewar's, where they found a Mach 11 submachine gun along with 4 matching rounds of ammunition in an abandoned building. The police force has intensified efforts to remove illegal firearms from the streets following a year in which the Federation recorded 28 homicides. As part of their strategy, the police have increased stop-and-search operations. Over the past several weeks, several individuals have been charged with firearms-related offenses as part of a deterrent effort. In February, New Vision, Zavion Brown was charged with possession of a firearm. Last month also, Jamar Woodstock was also charged with possession of a firearm, possession of ammunition, and possession of cannabis with intent to supply. These actions come as the police and customs officials have ramped up efforts to secure the borders and prevent the illegal flow of weapons into the country. Despite these efforts, however, more illegal firearms continue to surface across the Federation.
Regionally,
well, a number of U.S.-funded programs in Guyana have been left pending as the Donald Trump administration in the U.S. continues to cut back on a number of international support programs and initiatives. Speaking to reporters this morning, the U.S. Ambassador to Guyana, Nicole Theriot, said the embassy has indicated its priority programs to the U.S. government, and support for the upcoming elections in Guyana is one of the projects that the embassy has placed on its high priority list for clearance from Washington.
I mean, we would love to continue all of our programs, but right now, what they've asked us to do is prioritize the programs that we would like waivers for. We would like all of our programs to continue, but the prioritization is, I'll give you an example, the high priority program is our election support. We would really like to, we actually hadn't commenced it yet because we were waiting for that funding. So we've requested that they give us as quickly as possible approval so that we can start that, because we want to give assistance to GCOM. We want to spin up an election observation mission, and we want to be as helpful as we can in Guyana's democracy.
The ambassador said the U.S. Embassy has already forwarded its proposal for support for the Guyana elections, and that support would include a technical advisor who has an expertise in election support.
But our hope is that we'll be able to embed an advisor, a chief technical advisor who is incredibly skilled and experienced in election support with GCOM, to sit with them, to sit with the commissioners and the chair and the CEO and help them as they start to do more in terms of preparation for elections. Of course, we know they're already hiring people to work for the elections, but there's a lot that needs to happen before whenever elections happen, November or so. So this person would just be an objective assistance advising GCOM on how to move forward in the various capacities, because there is a lot to do.
Since taking office in January, U.S. President Donald Trump has started a number of measures intended to slash costs for the U.S. government. The offices of the U.S. International Agency for International Development have been severely impacted by the cuts, and the offices had to reduce staffing not just in the U.S. but also internationally. The U.S. ambassador said that locally one contracted employee was affected. She said a U.S. agriculture program in Guyana might be among the affected programs.
And I'll give you an example of one that may not continue. It's called CAPA. It's an agriculture project where we were helping to develop 3 different crops here in Guyana for export. So kind of value-added crops. One was West Indian cherries, one was coconut, and the other was turmeric. So I'm not sure. It was a very small project. I think it was only $1 to $2 million. But it's likely that that project won't continue. But of course, we have asked for exceptions. So.
The U.S. government, through the local embassy, has been supportive of elections in Guyana and a number of other programs over the years. A number of CARICOM countries have expressed concern about some of the policies of the new U.S. government, including one policy that threatens to sanction countries that utilize Cuban medical support. The U.S. has had sanctions on Cuba for decades.
Dozens of residents in Old Harbour Bay, St. Catherine, were left fuming after a meeting with police descended into chaos Wednesday evening. The meeting was supposed to be an opportunity for residents to voice their concerns about an ongoing curfew in the community. But as Kelisha Williams reports, the meeting ended within minutes.
The moment residents in Old Harbour Bay, St. Catherine, walked out of a stakeholder meeting with the police.
Yeah, a business people that kill people.
It should have been a meeting for residents and business owners to voice their concerns with the ongoing 6 p.m. curfew in the community. But the residents got upset and walked out of the meeting because the police officer who led the meeting said he would only be answering 5 questions.
5 questions to how much people were there.
Every 6 o'clock, they lock down the business. Every night, me have to keep on carrying fish, throw away because 6 o'clock a evening, 6 o'clock a big evening. Nobody now come, nobody can come on the road to support me and buy something for me. Nobody not stop the police and from where they want to do. Then can't do then curfew and time until 10 o'clock same way.
In going further, the residents told TVJ News that the 6 o'clock curfew has been making life miserable in Old Harbour Bay.
If a minute away in Old Harbour, where China can't open until midnight and everybody can't open until midnight, what about here? 6 o'clock can't work.
What really are going on, sir? We now can't pay tax. You know, we now can't pay tax. We now can't send the people to school. For if me up 6 o'clock this morning, and at 7 o'clock, I get my best sales. You know, and the shop a place I like at 4 o'clock. We did nice show.
The curfew was imposed in the community following a spate in crime, and on March 1, 2 men were shot and killed by the police. Not only do the residents believe the men were innocently killed, but they told us even the candlelight vigil was disrupted.
We would like time to grieve. A SWAT team of over 15 officers were not necessary at a night at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They were not necessary. And then what law are we breaking by lighting candles?
They are human beings, whether police kill them or gunmen kill them, they are human beings. And we as the family, I think we are allowed to grieve their passing.
We unsuccessfully tried to get an interview with the police. However, counsel for the Old Harbour South Division, Dr. Kurt Wall, had this to say.
I don't think that the good should suffer for the bad in any society, you understand? I think we need to target the people who are the problem makers and allow the people who are law-abiding citizens to thrive. I don't know if they're employing these measures because they haven't discussed them, probably it's private, but I think that we need more undercover policemen traversing the community.
Kelisha Williams, TVJ News.
Internationally,
Houthi rebels say they have retaliated after a new series of U.S. airstrikes hit the port city of Hodeidah. The U.S. military confirmed the new strikes and says they will continue until the Iran-backed Houthis end their attacks on ships traveling through the Red Sea.
The U.S. launched fresh strikes on Houthi-held targets through the night on Sunday. The U.S. Central Command posted these pictures on its social media and said it will continue the offensive until the rebels stop their attacks on Red Sea shipping.
This is not a one-off. This is an effort to deny them the ability to continue to constrict and control shipping, and it's just not going to happen. We're not going to have these guys, these people with weapons able to tell us where our ships can go, where the ships of all the world can go, by the way. It's not just the U.S. We're doing the world a favor. Yeah. We're doing the entire world a favor by getting rid of these guys and their ability to strike global shipping. That's the mission here, and it will continue until that's carried out.
U.S. jets had struck various targets on Saturday as well. According to the Houthi-run health ministry, at least 53 people were killed, with dozens more injured. A spokesman for Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels claimed the group had retaliated by attacking an American aircraft carrier twice within 24 hours and warned it would not let up.
The Yemeni armed forces will not hesitate to target all American warships in the Red Sea and in the Arabian Sea in retaliation to the aggression against our country.
The Houthis are an extremist political and military group who control a third of Yemen's territory. They seized control of Sana'a in 2014 and fought against a Saudi-led military coalition backed by the U.S. The Houthis' ideology centers around their opposition to Israel and the United States. They have aligned with Iran's so-called Axis of Resistance. And since the war in Gaza began, the group has attacked commercial ships in the Red Sea and even fired missiles at Israel. They say the attacks are in solidarity with Palestinians and have recently announced they will continue such attacks until Israel allows aid to enter Gaza. U.S. President Donald Trump says he will use overwhelming lethal force until the Houthis stop their attacks on ships. Trump also warned Iran, the Houthis' main backer, that it needs to stop its support for the group immediately. Iran provides weapons, training, and intelligence to the group, among other things, but still claims the Houthis are independent with their strategy.
The Houthis, as representatives of the Yemenis, make their strategic and operational decisions on their own.
As the U.S. continues its campaign, it remains unclear how it will succeed, where previous American-led military efforts against the Houthis have largely failed.
And I'd like to welcome Robert Chatterjee, Vice Editor-in-Chief of Zenith magazine, joining us from Berlin. Let's take a closer look first at the U.S. military response here. We know the Biden administration also carried out airstrikes against the Houthis for more than a year. What is different about what we're seeing now under the Trump administration?
Well, a difference certainly as a direct attack on a U.S. aircraft carrier. I think that's definitely a new kind of escalation. It also shows the confidence with which the Houthis are operating. I think they see the Trump administration as a lot of bark and no bite. And I think they feel comfortable in their situation, and they feel comfortable that as any other operation, Western operation targeting them, that there's no real appetite for sustained military campaigns. And I think that is a valid assessment of the situation. I don't see the Trump administration escalating this theater of war like they announced, like Marco Rubio announced yesterday.
Is it, though, willing to go after a wider range of Houthi targets than the Biden administration was?
I don't think that there's a major difference. I think the Biden administration already committed quite a lot of resources to that area, and it didn't change that much, to be honest. And I have not seen any shift in strategy other than we just keep bombing, and that didn't work out before. Also, none of the neighboring countries are involved. And that has been the main issue with not solving this conflict. First of all, it is connected to the Gaza war, which is a reality that both European and American leaders refuse to accept. Second, the Red Sea states, especially Egypt and Saudi Arabia, have to be included in all of those activities. If they are sidelined, you will never get any solution in this theater of war.
Okay, so many challenges here. I do want to pick up on a point you raised about the Houthis having claimed to have launched a second attack now against that American aircraft carrier in the Red Sea. First of all, how credible do you find those claims? Do the Houthis have those kinds of capabilities?
I haven't checked if this claim is true. I think they are operating quite independently of this so-called axis of resistance. You saw the statement from the Iranians, which is basically, we have nothing to do with that. The Iranians are still reeling from losing a big bunch of their military capabilities, and the Houthis, on the other hand, are operating quite independently. This also goes for weapon development and adapting to the need of warfare that they're doing. So it's not inconceivable that they have improved their capabilities to operate with their specific targets in mind. I think what is much more remarkable is the daringness, the daring the Americans to retaliate by basically directly attacking military vessels, which has not occurred in the last year or 1.5 years. So I think that is quite remarkable. I think they seem to feel comfortable operating from that position and also having a longer breath, like to actually sit out this confrontation.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on DW News. We've been speaking with Robert Chatterjee, Vice Editor-in-Chief of Zenith magazine.
And to take a closer look at all of this, I'm joined now by DW reporter Tomi Oladipo. Tomi, so great to have you here. Tell me why we're seeing this now. What's the Trump administration's plan here?
Well, this obviously has to do with the global shipping supply that's been disrupted by the Houthi attacks on ships in the Red Sea and in the surrounding area. But we need to go back with a bit of context. In the first Trump administration, the Houthis were designated a foreign terrorist organization. Mm-hmm. The Biden administration reversed that so it could supply aid to Yemen because of the devastating humanitarian crisis there. Trump 2.0 has come back in and they've reversed that. Obviously, we know their stance on foreign aid. But also, that was just 2 weeks ago when they reversed that and redesignated the Houthis as a foreign terrorist organization. And so we're now seeing that because these attacks have been affecting U.S. ships, U.S. military personnel as well, at least U.S. military ships. So that has prompted the U.S. now to go. It's targeting, in its view, a terrorist organization.
Witnesses in Yemen say they were surprised by the intensity of these strikes. Why is the U.S. launching such forceful attacks?
Well, I mean, this is the Trump government that has come out and talked about strength a lot on the global stage. Mm-hmm. Peace through strength has been that slogan. And I think that's the message the Trump administration is trying to send, that they're not going to back down if anyone attacks U.S. American vessels or military. But I think that's not just unique to the Trump government. Any U.S. government, under any U.S. government, if you attack U.S. military personnel, they will come hard at you. And that we're seeing is not just missile to drone. This is also targeting sites in Yemen, and that's why we've seen these strikes across the country.
Yeah, Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State, actually said that he was not, or that his country was not doing this just for its own sake, but for the entire world, to protect shipping of all its allies as well. The Houthi rebels have said that they have retaliated against a group of American aircraft carriers. What do we know about their military capabilities?
I think it's important to stress that the Houthis are not just some group in the mountains hiding. These are a large. They might not be the internationally recognized government, but they do operate almost like a government in many parts, at least the northern half of the country. And they possess significant military capability. They've had years of supply from Iran. They carry out these military parades, Iran-style military parades, where they display their arsenal. So they will try to, and they have reiterated that they will continue these strikes until Israel allows for aid into Gaza. But then, again, this is the U.S. we're talking about, the world's, at least for a long time, the world's top military power. So I don't think the Houthis will stand a major chance. They will, as they say, try to give it a shot, but it's the U.S. they're up against.
That does sound like we could be in for further escalation.
Well, that depends. I mean, the U.S., Trump in particular, has spoken out against Iran and told them not, sent a warning to them. And it's interesting that the Iranians have been quick to speak and say, actually, no, the Houthis are operating on their own. Mm-hmm. And so we've seen what happened in Iran following the Israeli attacks in October, and how, according to many experts, if it's true that they were decimated in terms of their defense capabilities, and I don't think they will be keen to get involved. And so the Iranians will be trying to get the Houthis at least somehow not to draw them into it. And at the same time, we have to keep in mind that there are potential nuclear talks with the U.S., and the U.S. will want to come in strong if those talks were to happen. So I think the U.S. will want to, make their stamp known in this issue and have the upper hand.
Tomi Oladipo, thank you so much.
Thank you.